That's right. Jesus was a schizophrenic.
Oh.
And so were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were all a bunch of schizophrenics.
This atheist says that Jesus was a complete schizophrenic. So make sure to watch till the end because it completely backfires. And I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Shout out to all the people watching live. Don't forget to like this video to help more people see it. Let's get right to the video.
But these guys died claiming we saw Jesus risen from the dead. He is Lord. Which means if they didn't see him, they were lying.
But this isn't in the Roman writings. There's no record of this slaughter.
Eusebius records it wonderfully.
Schizophrenia is a disease which is common.
That's right. Jesus was a schizophrenic.
Oh.
And so were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were all a bunch of schizophrenics. How on earth can you read the Gospels, the teachings of Christ, and conclude that the guy had mental problems? How on earth can you read the Sermon on the Mount and conclude that Jesus had mental problems? Come on.
It's gonna be crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how so many people could be like, yeah, Jesus was a lunatic. Jesus was a schizophrenic. And even though he made the most groundbreaking moral values, he just completely flipped everyone's expectations upside down, saying that
When was the last time you saw a resurrection of
When was
anybody?
the last time I saw it?
You
I
saw
never
a
have seen
dead.
resurrection.
Exactly. Have you ever seen any kind of a phenomenon like that before?
No.
No. So how can you believe something like that?
Because
Yes, you
first
can
of all,
believe.
the
Somebody
evidence is
dying.
that a supernatural God exists, and because a supernatural God exists, he is totally capable of performing a miracle.
So you've seen God, basically?
No, I've seen evidence that God exists.
Like what?
Order and design of the cosmos, life coming from life, not from non-life, moral absolutes pointing us to the fact that there's more to reality than matter and energy, free will.
But I'm sure you can, all right, unless you can you prove that we even exist?
Sir, I can't even prove we're having this conversation.
Exactly, exactly. So when you start talking about all these different things, and what you're basically talking about is whose rhetoric is stronger, and then you would follow that.
No, sir. No, sir. Right here. I can't prove to be sitting here. It is not an issue of rhetoric, whether I stop my hand right there. It is an issue of evidence. The evidence is he is sitting here. That's why I don't keep swinging through his handsome face. Has nothing to do with rhetoric.
I love how he always is like, I'm not going to swing through his handsome face because it just deflects the anxiety or the tension. My favorite one is when he says, yeah, he has an amazing brain between his handsome ears. Right.
To do with evidence that the guy's sitting here. I base my life on evidence. I can't prove to you he's there, but boy, the evidence of my eyesight is he is there. Therefore, I stop when his face begins.
But where's the evidence of resurrection?
That's historical evidence.
Exactly.
The historical evidence found in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is that the guy really died on a cross, was really buried, and 3 days later really came alive again.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, is that's rhetoric. I'm not saying that.
What do you mean that's rhetoric? It is words, yes, well, you do agree on that.
Right, and I'm saying that to prove something, in order for them to prove something, they would have to say all these things, and they're doing exactly that.
We already agreed
and I'm not
upon the
saying
fact
that
we
they
can't
didn't
prove
believe it.
anything. So
And I
don't
didn't
use
say-
proof. I can't use proof.
Okay, but I'm talking about evidence that they're saying, and while I'm saying proof because that's what they're using, because I'm saying that they're using rhetoric for people to believe in these things, and to believe in Jesus, and belief is irrational. So I mean, it could be.
No, belief is not irrational. It doesn't have to be irrational. It can be irrational. But if your belief is based on solid evidence, that's not an irrational belief.
But then it's not belief.
Yes, it is belief.
I mean, if it's solid evidence, then it's concrete. I mean, there's no belief in it.
Prove to me the University of Texas is going to grant you a diploma on your day of graduation. Prove to me UT's not going to say, hey, let's break tradition. No diplomas this year. It is possible.
Prove to me that you're going to get to heaven even if you do all the things that
I can't
Bible
prove
says.
it.
Then there we go. So that's rhetoric.
But there's evidence that UT is a reliable institution of higher learning. Based on that evidence, you pay a big tuition, you study hard to get a diploma. That's belief.
Yep.
And that belief is based on evidence.
Someone's like, yep, and I totally agree. He just walks with the Spirit and has so much experience debating, and it's inspiring to watch him work, and it's inspiring to me to learn from him because he's so quick and has an answer. But like he's saying, we don't have to have a completely irrational faith. There are so much evidence. I would say more than any other religions 10 times more evidence for Jesus than compared to any other religion out there. And I think it's important for a lot of people to realize that, because some Christians, I feel like, don't realize how much evidence there are. That's why I love making these videos, to help people know that there is evidence and they can stand on the word of God and not be afraid whenever someone at school says, God's not real.
Don't prove UT's going to give you a diploma. The evidence is, if you complete the course of study, if you pay your tuition, they'll give you a diploma. Sir, you have belief. Prove to me your roommate's not going to stick a knife in your back tonight. You can't prove it. Prove to me that your closest friend is not going to stick a knife in your back tomorrow.
I can't.
Exactly.
And I don't have a belief in that, though.
You don't?
I'm certainly, I expect anybody to stab me in the back. True, yes. And I'm from New York, too, so I'm sure you believe that, too, right?
Well, I think...
Or you know that, I should say.
Although I cannot prove to you that my best friend is not going to stick a knife in my back, there's a lot of evidence that my best friend is not going to stick a knife in my back.
Yeah.
That's why when I see my best friend on Wednesday, I'm not going to check her pockets and purse to find out if she got a knife in there.
Okay.
That's belief, sir.
Okay.
When there's so much cosmic activity going on, the chance for something like this to happen, where the energy would come together, there would be a big boom, is infinitely larger than you're making it seem. If you want to talk about plausibility among society, do you think it's more plausible that God came down to the mountain, wrote the Ten Commandments on some stone, and Moses brought him down, or that the first beings got together and said, gee, you think we shouldn't kill each other? Boy, probably not good to sleep with his wife. That's more plausible. Natural law and science coming together in the multitude of things that happen in the cosmos
Yes.
is more plausible.
All right. If what you say is true, that means murder is not absolutely wrong, it's relatively wrong. Because human beings created that moral. Correct?
Even if God
Right?
created it,
Correct.
you say
All right.
the same thing.
Which means if I choose to murder him, from your perspective, that might be wrong. From my perspective, it might be right. Your worldview demands that you acknowledge you're not really right and I'm not really wrong. I'm not really right and you're not really wrong. It's all relative.
Right, it's relative to the grand scheme, to the
You're not going to be able to tell someone that killing someone is absolutely wrong. 9/11 wasn't absolutely wrong. Human trafficking isn't absolutely wrong.
majority morality. If there are 10% of the people who think that murdering is correct, then you can judge by the fact that there's 90% of people who are sure that it's wrong, that then in our morality, and morality is a relative thing.
Right.
Morality is not an absolute thing. Our morality changes all the time.
Uh-huh.
So, morally, it is wrong to kill him. If you think it is correct to kill him, then you work under a different moral system that does not mesh with the moral system of the world.
Right.
Correct.
So, you're born in Nazi Germany. Majority of people believe that we better get rid of the Jewish people.
But
So
that's still
that's
a minority.
morally-
We're not talking about a majority of 6 people. We're talking about a majority of the world.
Of the world, I see. So in order to understand what's right and wrong, we need to take a survey of every person on the planet to understand what the majority really believe is true. And then once we've taken that survey and we've gotten the status quo, the majority opinion, then we understand that that's right and wrong?
No, that's not how morality
Well,
works.
then what are you telling me? What's the basis of morality? I thought you just told me the basis of morality is majority opinion.
It is. But I
Thank
did
you.
not
That's what I
say,
thought you
what I
said.
did not say was that we needed to take a survey of each individual person to decide what morality was. Rather, morality is something that is accepted. For example, it would be the same thing. If God created morality, then it's relative to what God thought, and tomorrow God could change his mind, and we could all murder each other, and it'd be great. So every day we have
If
to take
God
a
is
survey.
Problem is, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
That way.
So every day we'd have to take a survey of God or
If
the
God
priest
were that
or
way.
the Pope or whoever you want to
Right.
take a survey of and tell them, okay, is it okay to murder today, or is still that
Right.
still a bad thing?
Right.
So it's the same thing. It's
No, it's
relative.
not the same thing.
Yes, it is.
Because Jesus Christ insisted that God does not change, that God's character is just, and God has defined injustice very clearly, dehumanizing people, attacking the dignity and sanctity of human life. And because God's character does not change, his definition of justice and injustice does not change.
You try to label other aspects of other religions.
Hello, welcome to my live. Yeah, it's so funny how people just want to twist and say like, well, God could change his mind then, and there's going to be evil. They're like coming up with their own idea of who God is and not from the Bible. And that's the whole problem. Obviously, there are morals and they come from God. They have to. If not, then it's just from people. Then people can make up their own morality, and you can't tell someone that what they do is wrong then. You know, that's just such a difficult thing.
With your religion, that's where you're encroaching upon the lines of other religions. And I think that's wrong.
Well, obviously, I'm here at the University of Texas to try and persuade you to read the Gospels and look at Jesus. Now, if you accuse me of encroaching on you, I disagree.
What if if a person is in a school where everybody worships fire, and then the people, they come to you and they try to relate their religion with your religion, and you really respect your religion and you don't want to know about their religion, but they're actually relating their religion with you, how would you feel?
And they try to put your religion in their own words.
I see it all the time. People look me in the face and say, Cliff, you're wrong. There is no God. Now, that's not them encroaching their opinion on me. I want to talk with people. I want to share ideas. That's what a liberal arts education's all about. A free exchange of ideas where we disagree with each other. We're not going to stick a knife in each other's back. We're going to agree to disagree.
Well, what if you don't want to listen to them? They're just coming to you and they're telling you that you're going to hell if you're not following our religion. Even though you think that religion does not have to do anything with your religion. But even
when a Muslim tells me that I'm going to hell because I don't believe Allah and trust Muhammad, I look him in the face and say, I respect your opinion. I obviously totally disagree with you. Now please explain to me why you believe what you believe, and I hope you'll listen to me explain why I believe what I believe. And if
I don't see how, if someone came to me and they have this belief in some other religion and then told me, you're going to hell, I wouldn't really get upset. I would be like, okay. I mean, it wouldn't make me get super upset and start yelling at them, because I would just be like, sure, you can believe that, but I 100% disagree with you. I believe that my religion is more reliable. But it would be good to talk to him. You know, I don't think it's bad to be just like, I don't want to hear anything from you, boy. You know, it would be good for them to come. Let's have a discussion and explain both sides. And hopefully I could explain it in a good way to persuade. But yeah, that's funny.
Atheist tells me there is no God. I don't say that you're encroaching on me. I say, all right, why do you believe what you believe? And let me explain to you why I believe what I believe. And if someone comes to my door and knocks on the door and they want to talk to me, if I don't have the time, I say, I'm sorry, I don't have the time, and I shut the door.
It's not that I don't have the time. I don't want to hear, okay?
Right, if I don't want to hear what someone says, I say, thank you for your time, I gotta leave. Goodbye, and I shut the door.
There's a difference between talking about your religion, okay, and placing your terms, your terminology, your beliefs in a certain religion upon another religion. There's completely different. I'm not saying you don't have the right of speech, that you can't stand out here and talk about Christianity all day, come out here once a week and talk about it. I'm not saying you don't have the right to do that. You have the right to do that all you want. But the fact that you try to, I'm not saying you encroach upon me either. You're encroaching upon other people's religions. Christianity is not the only religion in the world. The fact that you're trying to label other religions, other entities, and other religions with the term God, Jesus, and thereof from the Bible, I think that is completely wrong of the religion Christianity. That is where their flaw is. It's not that you don't...
All right. I'm sure that there are followers, I know that there are followers of Christ, and I'm sure that I at times have fallen in when we've been insensitive to other people and to other religions. I'm sure that that's happened, and I'm very sorry for any time that I have done that. Believe me, I work hard not to do that. But I have a big, big disagreement with the definition of tolerance in this culture that says tolerance means Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Jesus all said the same thing. That is false. That's being brain dead. That's not being tolerant. I have to study the teachings of the Buddha, I've got to study the Quran, I've got to study the Bhagavad Gita, and I've got to study the New Testament, and I've got to respect each one of those enough to take them for what they say. And if I stand out here and say all Chinese people look the same, it shows I'm either not Chinese or I haven't taken the time to get to know Chinese people, because in reality, all Chinese people do not look the same. And if I stand out here and say all religions are the same, it shows I'm either not very religious or I haven't taken the time to study and respect the different major world religions.
Yeah.
So, we study the different major world religions. I seek to understand what you as a Buddhist believe. And then I seek, if I disagree with you, to express to you, sir, I disagree with you.
I don't say that I don't appreciate, I don't.
So before this guy goes crazy, I don't like the inclusion of saying all religions lead to heaven. That's just so naive, because obviously those religions don't even teach that. At the end of the day, most of the religions teach that their way is right. So therefore, that means only one of them is right. But most likely, there's one that is right. Therefore, you can't just say one religion is better than the other, or you can't say that. You can't say that all religions will lead to God then, because they're all contradicting each other. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can go to the Father except through me. So that's the problem here. And this guy just has a problem with
Acknowledge your religion. That's not my point here. My point here is I have a lot of Christian friends. I came from a very heavy Judeo-Christian area in North Dallas, very, upper class. Mostly everyone was Judeo-Christian in my area. Okay, I'm not arguing the fact that it's not a good religion or whatever, okay? Every religion has flaws. I acknowledge that already. The fact is, from where I came from when I grew up, Judeo-Christian was the only religion that I saw that tried to apply their labels upon other religions. Not, I'm not saying you can talk about your religion all day. I'm not saying that I condemn your religion. Okay, I think Judeo-Christian in its own right, if followed, is a very good religion. The problem where it comes in is where they try to apply themselves to every single religion that exists.
Well, what do you mean when you say apply themselves to every other
Terms, stories, just try to convert everything into, this is because, okay, this is the way it was because we defined it, okay, according to the Bible. Because everybody's following a general good, there is no superior entity in Buddhism, okay? The fact that they follow, karma, Buddhism, I don't need to get into Buddhism. The fact is that they don't try to they don't say there's a God, but then just like a while ago, you termed Buddhisms are trying to follow a general God. There is no God, okay?
Right.
There is no God. There is no God. Christianity, there is a God.
Right.
The fact that you try to apply terms to other religions, I think that's where you're encroaching upon other religions. I'm not saying that I don't acknowledge your religion.
By me saying Buddha was agnostic when it comes to the issue of God is encroaching?
No. But the fact that you said that all Buddhisms were trying to follow a God and thus it is your Christian God, that's incorrect.
I never said that.
You said okay,
Buddhists are not following Jesus.
right. You said that Buddhism, Islam, all the major religions in the world try to follow a general good, and that is basically God. Your God. That's incorrect. There's no such term as a God in Buddhism. This is just an example, okay? I'm not saying this is the only thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've miscommunicated. One of my pieces of evidence for the existence of God is that every culture is filled with human beings who have an innate longing to know God. Not the Judeo-Christian God, necessarily, but we have a deep desire to know God. And anthropology shows us that. And my point was simply, due to the universality of this drive to know God, I feel that that's one piece of evidence that indeed there is some type of God.
In reality, we all have a God. We all have something we serve. If the thing that we think is the most important, that is our God, whether that's money, fame, relationships, women, power, whatever that is, that's our God. And that's the problem. So whether we need to be seeking Jesus, we need to be putting Jesus first above all else, and that's going to truly help us at the end of the day. But I don't get what this guy is really getting at here. He just has a problem that Christians share their faith with him, and I think that's just the problem.
That's all I was saying.
Well, do you kind of see what I'm saying? We believe that there is no greater immortal being or some superior being that exists. The fact that you say that every religion is trying to find a greater being, a greater God, or trying to follow, you can say that you're trying to say it in your own words, but the fact is, you're already applying other religions to what you believe in. That is wrong. And the fact that you're doing it minorly, but a lot of people misuse that and they try to preach other religions and try to denounce other religions through Christianity. But it's happened to me before, okay? You might not do it.
I understand.
You cannot place yourself in his condition.
Right.
Because you
I'm not
are
placing
already,
myself in your condition.
You are already you happen to be in a religion which already dominates the whole of globe, right? And you cannot see his point of view because you are not the minority religion. You're not one of the people who adhere to the minority religion, and you are not imposed by the people who are with the majority religion. That is why you cannot communicate with him, right?
Exactly.
Sir, I'm in a minority at the University of Texas. I'm in a minority in the United States.
Sense that most of the people in the world believe in one God. You're a majority in that sense, and that is why you're trying to relate your religion with the majority of the religion.
That's not what I was trying to do. I was simply trying to make a statement. One of my pieces of evidence that God exists is the universal human drive to know God or gods. And what I said was, in light of how many people around the world
Do you see what
have
you're
a
doing,
desire to know God,
Do you see what you're doing, though? You're saying that
what's wrong with that?
everybody in the world is
I
searching
didn't
for
say everybody.
What
okay,
if a fire worshipper...
most societies are looking for a general good, and thus you say everybody's trying to look for a general God. You can't say that. Other societies don't believe in a God. You can't apply your term of God to every society that
I
exists.
disagree strongly.
No, what if...
I strongly.
Why can't he say we all have something inside of us that is longing for a relationship with God? If we believe that God created us to have a relationship with him, therefore we all are looking to fill that hole that we have inside of our heart if we don't have God in it. Therefore, we try to fill it in with all of these things of this world, and at the end of the day, none of it satisfies besides a relationship with God. And that's what we try to convey to all of these people.
I disagree. The majority of people on the planet have an innate drive to know God, and the plethora of religions bear that out.
You're just assuming that.
I'm not assuming it. You study anthropology. You study
They
cultures.
say humanity is looking for a general good, not a general God, okay? That's where you're going wrong. This is just one example that it's happened before.
I disagree. The
Hello, Isabella. How are you?
majority of people in the world are searching for some type of God, some type of superior being.
That's wrong. That is
not wrong.
Nobody
No
in
way.
Buddhism is
I don't
looking for a
think that's
superior being.
Try to...
He's saying the
Buddhist
majority.
people.
That's a true statement. I agree in that way. That's the majority of the human beings. That's a true statement. Very true in the world. He's looking way out in the world, not you or me or him. That's true.
You did not say the majority. You say every human being.
You did.
You said...
All right. No, I might have said every human being has an innate drive to know
It's
God.
mistakes
I might have
like
said
that.
that.
It's
yes.
mistakes like that.
No, I don't think that's a mistake.
Okay, listen
I'll
to
stay with that statement. Every human being has an innate drive to know God. We can suppress that, and many of us do suppress that. But I will stand by that statement that every human being has an innate drive to know God.
Yeah, we all have an innate drive to know God or find meaning, find purpose, find something that gives us fulfilling. And at the end of the day, none of that will fulfill us besides a relationship with God. So I think that's super interesting, very, very thoughtful and insightful, and I love this conversation. And these guys are just completely lost. I feel like they're just not wanting people to share the gospel with them. They're not wanting Christians to share their values with them, I think, at the end of the day. But that's just how it is when they're worshiping some other God outside of themselves. John 14:6 says, Jesus told him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. So when people say, my religion's right, your religion's wrong, that's just a truth statement, and the truth statement is either right or wrong. They're both right, So I get that, and it's important to realize, people are not going to like it when you tell them the truth.